When you first read a sonnet, it is but natural that you do not understand it immediately. But when you try to dissect it per quatrain and couplet, the way you understand each couplet would help you understand the totality of the sonnet. So we have to appreciate the role of the structure in this literary genre called sonnet because the structure has something to do with the way we understand the whole piece. So, with that, let us appreciate the structure of Sonnet 116 and understand better Sonnet 116 based on its structure. Sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with a remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. So you have here the first quatrain, second quatrain, third quatrain, and the couplet. When it comes to its rhyming pattern, it's AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, and GG. Meaning, as you can see here, minds sounds like finds. That's why they are both labeled as A. When the sound changes, you proceed to the next letter, B. So, love sounds, at least the last consonant sound, V, V, love, and remove. So that's why they both are labeled B. And then there's another shift in sound, change in sound. Mark and bark sound the same. Shaken, taken sound the same. So you get the idea. And of course, couplet has the GG rhyming pattern. Proved, loved. Okay. Now, let us deal with what Sonnet 116 is about. For us to identify what a piece is all about, sometimes we all we need to do is to look at the words that are used. There is a thing called repetition. And the reason why people repeat words is because they're important or they are trying to emphasize it. So if we refer to repetition in Sonnet 116 and we identify what is that word that is mostly used or the word that has been repeated over and over again in Sonnet 116, what could it be? Yes, that's correct. It's love. If love is the word that has been repeated over and over again in Sonnet 116, what do you think is Sonnet 116 all about? Love. Very good. I think it's about time that we talk about love. Sonnet 116 talks about love. But what about love in particular that Sonnet 116 talks about? If your answer is that it tries to define love, that's again correct. Of course, we won't stop with that answer because eventually I'll be asking you How do you know, or what made you say that it's trying to define love? Perhaps if you went through one quatrain to another, you will see that each quatrain is trying to define love from quatrain 1 to the couplet. This is our first quatrain. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. The first line, let me not to the marriage of true minds. Basically, the persona here is trying to make his first point. What is his first point? That love is a marriage of true minds. It doesn't say that love is a marriage of true hearts, true minds. So somehow the persona is trying to claim that love is something that happens somewhere here and not here. It's something that you perceive and not only feel. And therefore, when you say that you love someone, it means that you have thought about it, and that when two people are in love, their minds are married. It's not necessarily their hearts that are married, but their minds. So you and the other person have the same, frequency. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. So, meaning, if your minds are married, no impediment could be admitted. What are impediments? These are hardships, these are challenges. So, you won't be affected by any hardship or any challenges that may come your way. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with a remover to remove. In the second line, it says, love is not love. The persona is still trying to define love, but he is trying to define what love is not. And that, my friends, is what we call a negation, or definition by negation. Negation is trying to define something by what it is not. It's like saying a sea is not a river, a laptop is not a desktop. Love is not love. When is love not love? Which alters when it alteration finds. You have a word that's been repeated here, alter. And alter means to change. So love is not love when it changes, or when it wants to change the other person. If today you say that you love someone, and tomorrow, because you woke up at the wrong side of the bed, you realize that you don't love that person anymore, whatever you felt before was not actually love. That's basically what this is saying. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with a remover to remove. Again, another word is repeated here, remove. The other person is removing his commitment from you. The other person removes his love from you. It's like this way. If your boyfriend tells you, I don't love you anymore, you don't have to feel the same, because that's love. Perhaps what you felt was love. It doesn't mean that when the emotion was removed, you also bend with it. Kaya nga, 'di ba? There are so many people who find it hard to move on from past relationships, especially when they have loved that person so much that when that person removed his or her love from you, you do not automatically unlove them too. No matter if there are so many changes, the feeling that you feel remains the same, regardless of whether they still love you. You still love them. I mean, I'm not just talking about the romantic love here. It could be any other kind of love. Like, for example, somebody dies, it's been removed from you. It doesn't automatically mean that you stop loving them. Your grandfather, your mother, or your father have died. It doesn't mean that you also remove your love from them just because they're no longer here. But if that happens to you, quatrain number one is telling us that what you feel is not love. Quatrain number one defines love by negation. It's trying to tell us what love is not. Quatrain number two presents another idea. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose words unknown, although his height be taken. Is it still defining love? Definitely, because it says in the first line here, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. Now, what is that mark that is referred to here in the first line? It is a mark that looks on tempests. What are tempests? Tempests are sea storms. What could be something that looks at sea storms but are never shaken, but are never damaged? It's a lighthouse. The first two lines compare love to a lighthouse, that no matter how many sea storms would come and go, it remains the same. It's a very, very sturdy, strong structure. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose words unknown, although his height be taken. So, the first two lines compare love to a lighthouse because of its strength and endurance. Now, it is comparing love to a star to every wandering bark. A bark, it's not the bark of a dog that is referred to here, but wandering bark are small fishing boats, and they usually go out to fish at night. And they don't have any source of light but the star, and that's the North Star or the Northern Star, whose words unknown, although his height be taken. I mean, people do not know what that is. I mean, we know it's a star, but we basically do not know what is a star. Fishermen do not know what it is, but they know that every night when they go out fishing, the star is there, Venus. You don't have to know why you love someone. Sometimes when we ask our boyfriend or our girlfriend why they love us and they can't seem to give us a quick answer, we get offended. But based on Sonnet 116, particularly quatrain number 2, we should be thankful for them not giving us any particular reason why they love us. Because it says here, oh, it is the star to every wandering bark, whose words unknown, although his height be taken. It's just, we don't need reason to love someone. We just love them. We just know we love them, right? And I don't know if you have felt it before, but at one point in your life, you will feel it. You just couldn't find the reason why you love someone. Despite all the reasons that you can find not to love that person, you just do. You just love him or her. And based on Sonnet 116, quatrain number 2, that's love. You don't know what it is, but you know that it's there. Moving on to quatrain number 3, it says, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks, within his bending sickle's compass come. The first phrase, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks. What are the time's fools? It's the rosy lips and cheeks. Meaning that rosy lips and cheeks are affected by time. When we are young, our cheeks are rosy, our lips are sultry, kissable, but there will come a time that they won't be rosy anymore, but they will be soggy. Our lips will no longer be kissable, and therefore they are times full. But what is not a times full? It's love. It's a constant thing. No matter how long or short the period may be, it doesn't really matter. You could love a person for 50 years and you could still feel the same. At the same time, you could know someone even for a month or even for a week, but you know that you already love that person. Love should not be dependent on time. Love's not time's full, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. So time is somewhat compared to the reaper, that reaps off the beauty of our physical selves. Love alters not with its brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Doom could be considered to be like the end of the world. So it doesn't alter, it doesn't change in weeks, in hours, but it bears it out even to the edge of doom. It remains constant until the end of the world. Quatrain number 3 is trying to define love in relation to something. The word association that exists in quatrain number 3. You have time, you have hours, weeks, and edge of doom, all referring to time. So quatrain number 3 is defining love in relation to time. So again, when we go back to quatrain number 1, we said that quatrain number 1 is defining love through negation. Love is not love. Quatrain number 2 defines love through metaphor. It compares love to, number 1, a lighthouse, and number 2, the northern star. And quatrain number 3 defines love in relation to time. But all 3 quatrains define love. You get the point there? If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. What does the couplet do? It's the generalization, or it's the summary of the whole sonnet. This is a very strong concluding remarks of the persona here. This actually doesn't summarize the definition, but it summarizes his point. And what has been his point? He was trying to define what love should be. And at the end of the sonnet, he's so confident that how he defined love was true and accurate because he is willing to put his credibility as a writer, because he says here, I never writ nor no man ever loved. And the fact that there are definitely men and women who really felt pure love towards another person, he's willing to put his credibility on the line just to prove that his definition of love is true and acceptable. So our couplet doesn't only summarize, but it puts forward the point of the writer in defining love. It's like saying, there's no other definition of love. You cannot define love in any other way but the way that I define it in the three quatrains. So, love. Personally, I believe that love is one of the most used and abused words that people utter. It's so easy for us to say the words I love you. It has become so familiar that it doesn't mean anything anymore. How easy it is for everybody to say to somebody that they love them, to claim that what they feel is love towards another person. But Sonnet 116 somehow gives us the criteria for loving. It doesn't only give us the definition of love, but it also gives us the criteria for love. Meaning to say, it's like telling the readers, hey, before you claim that you're in love, and before you tell that person that you love her or him, you have to ask yourself, are you sure about it? Does your emotion meet all the criteria that I have presented in Sonnet 116? Are you sure that it won't change? Are you sure that you will feel the same even if that other person won't feel the same way toward you? Are you sure that it will not be shaken? Because you might be discouraged and you will realize that you don't love him or her anymore. Are you sure that you will love that person until the end? These are the things that we need to consider before we claim that we are in love, before we profess our love to someone. People today, both young and old, find it very easy to say, I love you. But Sonnet 116, personally, I think, helps us remember that love is sacred. It's not something that we give away to anybody. It must be given to someone who deserves our love.